welcome back to Build Real Confidence, day number 5. Today, I'm going to start with a really simple question for you, okay? What are your top 5 strengths? I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Go. Okay, great. Now, another question. What are your top 5 weaknesses? Again, 10 seconds. Go. All right, cool. Stop the experiment. Now, which one were you able to access more quickly, your strengths or your weaknesses? If you struggle with confidence and you're taking this course, chances are it was your weaknesses, right? And that's a natural and a normal thing because we're all really used to and trained to focus on the negative, right? Because our brains have evolved that way for centuries and centuries and centuries. And in fact, our kind of caveman ancestors who really dominated our species for much longer than quote unquote modern man has been around, really needed to focus on the negative in order to survive. So if you were a caveman sitting out in the wilderness and you heard, some weird noise in the bushes or something like that, you better assume that that is a tiger come in to kill you and pounce on it as fast as you can, or maybe run as fast as you can, or whatever your survival mechanism is, rather than assume that, hey, this is just a noise in the wind or something like that. Because if you're wrong about the noise in the wind, no issue, you just made a silly mistake. But if you're wrong about the tiger, then you're dead, right? So it's most important for our caveman ancestors who take up most of our evolutionary history when our brain was being formed to focus on the negative, to predict negative and bad things and keep their attention there. Well, fast forward to quote unquote modern humans, right? We have the same brain, and yeah, it of course has evolved some and continues to evolve. It is definitely a living organ like the rest of our bodies. However, we still have a huge part of our brain that focuses on the negative because that is supposed to be linked to our survival. Our ability to focus on what's wrong, to focus on lack, to focus on the problems is linked to our survival. So it's not that you're a bad person for focusing on your weaknesses, and it's not necessarily that your mom or your dad screwed you up so much because all they did was focus on your negatives or your weaknesses. It's just that we're not really trained to focus on our strengths particularly, right? And our brains have not evolved that way. So the problem with this, of course, is that if we're always focused on what's wrong with us, what's not good enough about us, where we need to change, all this kind of stuff, then of course that's not going to make us feel confident, right? And we're here to build real confidence. So you need to change your focus from your weaknesses, quote unquote, to your strengths. And we're going to talk about weaknesses and all the things that you think about you are getting in the way of you being able to achieve everything you want to achieve. We will go there eventually, but right now I want you to shift your attention to your strengths. And think about this. Every person out there who is confident partly and largely because they know deep inside of them their own strengths. They know what they're good at. They know where they add value. They know that they really have something to offer, right? We're all kind of told as little children that we all have some special gift to offer to the world, and confident people tend to be in touch with what that is. Now, I think that there's a lot of confusion around what our gifts and strengths are because a lot of times we think they have to be something that people would want to give us an applause for. So for example, oh, she's a really good dancer, or he's a really good artist, or he's an amazing salesperson, or whatever, things that would kind of win us awards. But there's a lot of softer skills as well that won't win us awards, but will really, really help us in achieving our goals and really being the people that we want to be in the world. So for example, something like being a good listener, or something like being incredibly empathetic, or incredibly positive, or optimistic, or being a really good kind of logical reasoner, or being a really great analytical thinker, or whatever it is, right? The fact is that we all have strengths. And you, like me, like all of us, are not really taught to focus on our strengths, but those strengths are going to be the things that drive you to feeling really confident, focusing on those things. So the important part for you to do, of course, is to start by getting to know really what are your strengths. Now, you might have listed maybe up to 5 things in the beginning of this training when I asked you to spit them out, but my guess is, again, if you're still working on building your confidence, you might not have been able to list 5, right? But I can guarantee that you have at least that many. So the most important thing is to start to get to know what are your real strengths. So today's action is going to be getting to know those real strengths through taking a few different potential kinds of steps. So one way to do that is to just look back at your life and think about all the places and times where people have kind of reached out to you for help, right? So I know for me, people consistently ask me for help when they're trying to set up a business, right? Because I've set up 6 different businesses and they've all been very successful and grown very fast, right? So when I need to think about the initial stages of what it means to organize and set up a business and really be clear on the purpose and the mission and all that kind of stuff, people come to me all the time. People come to me all the time in order to understand how to tell someone that they're really pissed off, right? How to communicate through a difficult conversation. That's a skill of mine. That's a strength of mine. People come to me all the time in order to, what do people come to me for? People come to me all the time in order to cry, like in order to just be really vulnerable. And I know that I'm really gifted and skilled at holding space for people, right? So I want you to look back and say, where do people often come to me? Do they come to me to help me analyze a problem? Do they come to me to help them get in shape? Do they come to me in order to motivate them? Do they come to me in order to help them make a big decision? Or like, where have people come to me? And again, this is not just personal life, this is professional life as well. Where have people often come to you for help? So you can start there, right? Another way of doing it is just kind of really looking at your greatest accomplishments and thinking of all of the key assets or attributes that got you to accomplish that. So for example, if you finally nailed a handstand in yoga after like 2.5 years of trying it, what was it that got you there? Was it just like persistence and resilience of showing up every day? Was it this, or was it your incredible understanding of diet and physiology? What was it? Was it that you're a fast learner? What were the things, right? That's another way to get clear on your strengths. Another way to get clear on your strengths is to read a really, really wonderful book. It's by Marcus Buckingham. It's called Now Find Your Strengths, I believe. And in it, there's actually a strengths test finder. And so if you're one of those people who's saying, I don't have any strengths, I'm really not good at anything, I kind of suck at whatever it is, if you have that story in your mind still, though you really shouldn't if you're practicing self-kindness and doing all the other stuff that we've been doing through the last few days, but if that's your story, then I really recommend you read this book. It's a fantastic book that I recommend anyway, but really look in because it's going to identify your strengths against all of your resistance that you don't have any, or they're not that special, or they're not that useful, or whatever resistance might be coming up around your strengths. This book will just kind of be a much more non-emotional approach to getting clear on what they are, right? So the last way that I would love for you to get clear on your strengths is actually reaching out to people that you know and love across different kind of areas of your life. So maybe a few colleagues in different jobs you've had, maybe a few family members, maybe a few friends that represent kind of different facets of who you are or different chapters of your life, and reach out to them and say, hey, I'm just, doing a self-awareness project or whatever you want to call it, and I'd love to know what you think my 3 greatest strengths are, and ask for examples. Now, I know this feels vulnerable. I know this feels selfish. I know that a lot of that baggage is going to come up around not wanting to, cause any discomfort or not wanting to look vulnerable or all that kind of stuff. So use self-kindness and use the practices we've been building around the last 4 days to really, really move those blocks out of the way so you can start to do these practices, right? Whatever it is, I gave you 4 different great options. I think you should do all of them to really, really hone in on your strengths, but at least start with one of them today, right? So you want to really get clear on your strengths, name them out, list them out, and then write a story, right? So I want you to write a story. Once you get clear on your strengths, I want you to write a story about how these strengths specifically are preparing you for all of your dreams and goals. So remember, we talked about what is the goal behind your confidence in the first place, right? It's like you want to be confident because you think being more confident will allow you to get a job, get a girl, get a man, get a partner, get a raise, get a certain body, get a, whatever it is, start a business, whatever it is. I want you to talk about how these particular strengths really prepare you to achieve your goals, right? To achieve those things that you really want. And don't be vague, don't say, oh, well, I'm a good listener and I want a raise, so people, my boss likes when people listen, so he'll probably promote me. No way, Jose. Be much more specific, right? So really say, hey, I'm a good listener. Here's the evidence that shows this, and I specifically can use good listening to help me talk to this person differently, to help me understand this person differently, to help me hear what I need to hear in order to phrase my conversation around getting a raise in the most appropriate way, right? How is good listening going to help you achieve that particular goal? How is that particular strength going to help you achieve that goal? Right? And I want you to start to get in touch with what your strengths are and how they're actually going to help you achieve all of the things that you want to achieve. Now, again, don't worry about the weaknesses and all that other stuff. We're going to get to that. Right now, focus on understanding and getting to know what your unique strengths are and how they are absolutely a part of everything that you want to become, right? And this is such an important message to internalize, to realize that you're really already on the path of who you want to be, right? Going back to what I told you the first day, this is about uncovering. It's about taking the clouds away. It's not about really discovering anything that was never there before. So we're taking those clouds away and allowing you to get back in touch with your greatest strengths so that you can really, really start to focus on them and move towards your dreams of all the things in this beautiful life. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Congratulations for making it halfway through Build Real Confidence.